So in the last session, we created implementation user and we assigned the roles, and we discussed about FSM, Functional Setup Manager. By using the Functional Setup Manager, we can complete the setups. Within the Functional Setup Manager, the product families we are calling as offerings, and each and every application inside of that product family we are calling as option. And if you want to do the implementation in any fresh instance, first you have to enable the offerings and options. By selecting the offerings and options as per scope of implementation, we have to create the implementation project. When you say implementation project, don't consider the complete execution of implementation. Here, implementation project means to manage the setups. To manage the system configuration, what we create in the system that we call as implementation project, and we can assign the offerings and options to team members. Assigning the offerings and options to team members is not a mandatory activity. If you want to track the progress of the project, you can assign the offerings and options, otherwise you can ignore. And once you assign the offerings and options, or without assigning the offerings and options also, you can do the system configuration. What exactly we are doing, what we completed, what we not started, okay, on what we are working, that you can update as a status of the setups, and so that you will be able to track the progress of the project and what are the setups we completed, whatever the setups are pending, and due date, what is the due date and what is the overdue. All the setups you can find out through report. And apart from that, you can create the configuration packages also within the FSM. We can use the configuration packages to move the setups from one to other instance. If you want to create the configuration package, you have to create the project. Project creation also not mandatory. If you create the project, you can create the configuration packages. If you don't create the implementation project, you cannot create the configuration package. Without creating implementation project, even if you do the setups, how to create the configuration package, there is an alternative way of doing. Those also we'll discuss. Now we'll proceed with this one by one. Okay. So we'll see how to enable the offerings and options, how to create implementation project, and we'll talk about what is the version of instance we are using, version, release, etc. We'll talk about all those points. Let's proceed. Okay, we created one user called as ERPTREE. This is the user we created. Now first we'll go and check which release or which version of application we are going to use now. So if you want to check the release of this instance, click on the username. Just click on the username, and here you can find one hyperlink called as about this application. Okay, click on about this application. Fine. Here you can notice Oracle Cloud Applications 20D 11.13.2010 and all. What does it mean? Let's take into spreadsheet. So before Fusion, we have 11A applications. EBS 11A. Later Oracle came up with the release 12. This 11 and release 12, these all are EBS, Oracle EBS, e-business suite applications. This 11 and R12 completely Oracle product based solution only. Now in the Fusion, what Oracle did, we discussed. They taken few solutions from Oracle itself, Oracle applications, and many other like HCM, CRM, TPM, etc., etc. They taken from other ERP applications, and they released this product with 11G. 11G is one of the database version also. But when I talk about Oracle Fusion applications, version is 11G. Okay, when you say 11G, this is a database version also, but Fusion applications also they given the release name as 11G. We used 11. Here you can notice 11, but Oracle, when they started that actual product, Fusion applications, they just started release like 11.1.1. Some clients started using this from the 7.0.0. Later, they did some changes and they released that product as 11.1.1.8. 0.0. Okay. Later, next they came up with some updates and they added some new functionality. They did some announcements. They released it as 11.1.1.9. 0.0. Later again 11.1.1.10. 0.0. They released this version, okay, 11, that they are not changing. Within that, whenever they are releasing the product with some changes, that release number they are changing. This is release 11, 7 we call, this is release 8, this is release 9, this is 10. Later from 10 they started updating this changes as a 11.11, okay, 0.0, then 11 dot, so release 12. 11.13.0.0. Now the latest version is 13. Okay, this is the Fusion applications version that you don't need to count. We have to look at the release 13. Here you can see 11. 11 is the version for the Fusion applications. Within that, the changes, whether the product is latest or not, that you can see with this 13. Okay, and what does it mean by 20D? Here we'll see. The 20 is nothing but year, 2020. Okay, 2020 they are taking the suffix. This is the 20. In this release 13, the year of 2020, the month of, okay, October. Okay, month 10 means October. The October month they applied the latest patches, okay, that they are representing here. Okay, release is version is 11, the release is 13. The 13 release they released around 2018 itself. From 18 onwards they are keep applying the patches. That's how they are keeping everything up to date with the latest changes and all. So 20 means in 2020, in the month of October, they applied the patches. So when they apply the patch in the first quarter, every year in 4 quarters they apply the patches. So in the year they'll take the suffix and they'll represent in the version. Here they given 20D. 20D means, see here, in 2020 the first patch what they apply, that they call as 20A. That means the first quarter patch is applied. 20B means second quarter patch is applied. 20C means third quarter patch. 20D means fourth quarter patch. Now the instance what we are using is the fourth quarter patch is applied in 2020, and again we are in the 2021 first quarter. Okay, once the patch is applied, that will be updated in this. Here it will be updated very soon. Once they apply the patch on that, it would be updated 21. We are in the first quarter. It would be A, and here they'll change to 21. And if they apply the patch in the March, they'll keep it as a 03. That's it. So this is how you can find out which release we are using. We are using release 13 with which patch. That's how you can find within the instance. Any questions on this point, please? Release 13. Okay, here version we never represent with the version, just they are giving here. Always we have to talk about which release you are using, whether you are using release 11 or 10 or 12 or 13 or 10 or 11. This is how just the release only we have to use. Release you can find here. 13 is the release. And this is the year and month when they applied the patch. Which patch they applied in that specific year? Fourth quarter patch. Fourth patch. D means fourth quarter patch they applied. Very soon they'll apply new patch for the current year first quarter. quarterly once they apply the patches. That's how they'll update the release of the instance. Fine. Any questions on this, please?
This 11 is the database, 11G.
No, 11 is not the database. That's what I said. This is the application version. Fusion application version is 11. We have 11G as a database also. That is also there. Okay, Fusion they are using the 11G database only, but that 11G is different from this 11. This is the application version for Fusion applications. That is a note.
What does the larger signifies?
Your voice is very low, not clear.
What does the last zero signifies?
No, nothing. They are not representing. They are keeping that length of that version. Nothing you will find out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, fine. So now we'll see how to enable the offerings and options. When you get access to fresh instance, you can just log into the instance. Oracle will provide login credentials. With those credentials, you can create your own user, which roles we have to assign, what purpose already we discussed. As a consultant, very first step, what we have to do is after creating our own user, we have to go to FSM to enable the offerings and options. We'll go and see that. Click on the username. Go to setup and maintenance task. Everything we call as a task here. Click on setup and maintenance task. So what task we have to perform? Enable offerings and options. Okay, once we are in this page, you can go to actions. Click on this actions. Here you can find the action called as go to offerings. Click on go to offerings. Now within this instance, what are the offerings are available from Oracle? You could see here. These all are the offerings. Different offerings we have. So this is the financials offering. This is the financials offering. This is the procurement offering. This is how we have many offerings as a part of this instance. If you want to understand about specific offering, click on that offering. Okay, just click on that offering. Here you can find the description of the offering. Okay, this offering includes assets. Assets means fixed assets application. Ledger means general ledger application. Cash cycle means cash management application. Invoices and payments means payables application. Accounts receivables means account receivables only. Collections means advanced collections application, and other some subledger accounting and tax configurations also part of the financials. If you want to understand about procurement, you can select procurement and you can verify what includes as a part of procurement solution. This is how you can select the offering, and offering related information you can find. If you want to know more details about this offering, some relevant documents also available here. Just expand this relevant document section. You can find out what are the associated features as a part of this financial offering. And if you want to implement the financials offering, what setups we have to complete, the complete list of setups you can see. The business objects and enterprise application, it is not used for information for us, that you can ignore. And any document is available with this different format of the files, PDF or HTML or Excel, in any format you can download this and you can just go through. Okay, so just click on this PDF format so that you can download the file and you can see what are the associated features we have inside of this financials offering. Just click on PDF format or any other format. It will download Excel file and you can save it and you can open and you can see what information, what features we have within the financials. Okay, just click on PDF hyperlink. So this is associated features file which we download in the PDF format. You could see all the features. Even now if you go through, you cannot get anything. Once we work on the application, if you go through, you can find out yes what features we have, etc. You may refer all this. Okay, but not required, just for information they are giving. Around 104 pages document is this. This is how you can find associated features. Okay, the same way you can just download other files also, setups and task list file and other files also you can just download. So just we'll look into the setup list and task related file also. Just click on the PDF. The file is downloaded. You can open this. So 641 pages document. Okay, by seeing these documents, you don't need to understand anything. Okay, we'll start working on the system. Yeah, this is just for information purpose. Okay, so this is how you can just download and you can go through these documents. And if you want to enable any offering, in this instance, you could see this offering is already enabled. Financial offering is enabled. Status, you can say enable. Since this is a test instance we are using for practice, this instance is within this instance, financials is already enabled. But if you want to enable in the fresh instance, how to enable? Click on opt-in features tab. Just click on opt-in features tab. It will take us to the page from where we can enable the offerings as well as options inside of that specific offering. So in the fresh instance here, you don't see as this everything is enabled. By default, you will see all this in the disabled mode. We have to enable, okay, what exactly we are going to implement for our client. So first I'll just disable, then for our understanding we'll enable and we'll proceed. Just wait for a second. Okay, so this is how you can find everything as a disabled. Now in the fresh instance, what we have to do is we have to enable. We want to say we are going to implement financials. So enable financials. When you are going to use financials, you'll get general ledger application by default. Okay, you don't have a choice to say yes or no for general ledger application. Without general ledger application, you cannot implement the financials. So supplier invoice processing, nothing but payables. If you want to implement payables, you have to enable the payables. And if you want to implement expense application, fusion expense or say internet expense, enable this. And to implement fixed assets application, enable. To implement receivables application, customer invoice processing is nothing but receivables. Enable this. So this is how you have to enable different options inside of it. Okay, so this is all you have to enable. Scroll little down. There is separate application called collections, revenue management, certain features, intercompany budgeting. So these all you have to enable whatever required. This is all about analysis related reports. So those also you can enable. Whatever you require, you can enable. Simply you can enable all. Okay, you may use, may not use, but you can enable. If required, you can use it, or else whatever we require, we can utilize this. Even say you as your client taken the subscription for general ledger and accounts payables and account receivables. Even if you enable fixed assets, expense and other application, there won't be an issue at all. Okay, so if you enable, those would be available to implement. For what applications our client already taken the subscription, those only will implement, because these are enabled, we don't implement. If client doesn't have a subscription for so and so application, those we should not implement. Okay, this is a page where you can enable required offerings and options. This is all about financials. Just click on done. So this is how just you can enable the offerings and the options. So financials we enabled. In the same way, you can go to procurement, select procurement. This is also already enabled. But fresh instance, you don't see as enabled, we have to enable. Okay, we have to enable, and accordingly we can create the implementation project.
Lakshman, one question. With the enable column, there are two other columns, features and setups.
Yeah.
So there is more detail what we can enable in,
No,
let's say, suppliers.
no, I'll talk on that.
All right,
This is the
thank you.
procurement. Okay, here procurement also it's enabled. As a part of procurement, we have a different application, purchasing application, self-service procurement, which is equal to procurement in EBS. Okay, within this procurement, we have payables application also, and the supplier portal, sourcing, procurement contracts. These are the set of applications as a part of procurement. Now we'll go back to our financials offerings and options. Financials, opt-in features. Let's go to opt-in features. Now see, this is what we enabled. Here features is nothing but by default when we are going to implement financials, for overall financials, what are the features within the financials for each and every application? What are the features we have? Those you can get as a part of project. But for entire financials, there are certain common features which you want to, which we have, which we may use, may not use. Those you can find here. By almost all Oracle is enabling. We don't need to do anything. If anything is missing which we required, Oracle is not enabling, those you can enable. But most of the features which we use across the financials, you could see Oracle is enabling. We don't need to do anything here. See here, everything. If anything is missing for the country where you are doing the implementation, if the features are related to country specific and all, you can enable those. But by default, we don't need to enable anything. Okay, what features we use generally along with the financials, those you could see here. Okay, client is public sector. In that case, you can just set that relevant options. And client is going to use GRC application, governance risk and complaints application, enable it. But most of the features already Oracle enabled. Again, other features you can find application wise also. See, supplier invoice processing means payables application. Okay, so within the payables we have a different sub options like supplier related, payables related. For payment, nothing they given, and cash management they given. This is how just you can go, and if anything is missing, you can enable. But by default, nothing we have to do. If somewhere something is applicable, we'll discuss those. Okay, see, everything is enabled. So what generally required, those you can find here. So you don't need to go and enable any features over there. Just enable offerings and options. That's more than enough. Depending on the functionality, if there is certain control at offerings and options level, then only you have to come back to this page and you have to set. By default, no. Here, what is this setup? To implement this payables application or supply related functionalities and all, what setups you have to perform. If you want to see, you can click on this. For example, setups. Supplier invoice processing is nothing but payables application. If you click on this setup, it will show what setups need to be completed to implement accounts payable application. Supplier invoice processing is nothing but accounts payable application. So here it's selected. Here you can perform all the tasks. It is not selecting properly. Ideally, it has to select payables. From here you can do the setups. It is navigating us to page from where you can do the setups. That's all. So this is how we have to enable the offerings and options. Anyone can do this. Any consultant can do this. These activities are not done by project managers and all who knows about the application. They can go and enable the offerings and options. Here you have another tab called as new features. It is nothing but it talks about the releases, what releases Oracle is coming up, and what new features we have as a part of each and every release that you can find here. Okay. So see, available in 20D, in 20D, in the latest releases, the latest patches, what features are available that they are showing. These all are like you find some enhancements or new features as a part of latest patch application. This is how
Does it also
yes.
show upcoming features?
Upcoming they don't show. Upcoming they don't show. If they apply the patch, through that patch, what are the additional features are added? Those you can see in the instance. If you want to see upcoming features and all upcoming releases, that you can find in the Oracle Global Support. They by following certain intervals, they'll release the document. Okay, the readiness document and all. Within the document you can find it, but within the application, if any patch is applied, because of the patch, what are the new changes or new features you could see.
Thank you, Lakshman. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. So this is how you have to enable. Okay, here just we have to enable. If you enable, then only you can create the project. When you try to create the project, which offerings and options are enabled here, those only you can select at the time of implementation project creation. Okay, nothing to do with this. Okay, just try to understand how to enable the offerings and options. When you are enabling, say financials, you are going to enable within the financials, you can enable all the options. No issues at all. Okay, enable all the options. That's how we have to enable the offerings and options. Any questions on enabling offerings and options, please? It is mandatory. You have to enable offerings and options. Otherwise, you cannot create implementation project. When you create implementation project, into implementation project, you have to select which offerings and options you are going to implement. If you don't enable, those won't be available, so that when you are creating the project, you cannot select anything. Done. Now we'll see how to create the implementation project. Why we are creating implementation project? To manage the system configuration. So to create implementation project, click on this task list. This we call as a task list. You could see as a notepad and notepad icon. So click on this task because this contains multiple tasks. So you can call it a task list or task pan. Click on task list. Within the task list, we have multiple tasks. Now we have to select the task called as Manage Implementation Projects. Click on Manage Implementation Projects. In this instance, we have many projects. Okay, there are many projects. The reality, how many projects we have to create when you do the implementation for any client. So these projects to facilitate the configuration only. Okay, so here in this test instance or practice instance, you can see many projects with the different client names because people are practicing, they created. So reality, if you are going to do the implementation for one client for one country, you have to create only one project. And again, Oracle is allocating these instances one for one company only. If they are running the business in multiple countries, yes, the same client they have to use for each country by creating the separate project. But if Oracle is going to provide this instance for company A, company B should not use. Okay, that means this is not for multiple clients. Every client Oracle will provide dedicated instance. If they are operating the business in multiple countries, yes, for multiple countries they can do the implementation in one instance. For each country they may create separate project, but one instance only for one company, one organization. So this is the point we have to understand. If you are going to do the real implementation, if you are doing the implementation for one client and for only for one country, we create only one project. Okay, by default, in the when we deal with this instance, the first instance, this page you can see like this blank page. You have to create the first project, then you can start working on the project to perform the setups. Okay, so how to navigate to this page, we'll see once again. What we have to do is we have to click on the username and click on setup and maintenance. Go to task list. Click on manage implementation projects. This task will navigate us to a page where you can find the projects. Let's create one project here. Click on create. Here we have a create icon, plus icon. So click on create. Here you can give the project name and project code, description, and what is the status of the project, to whom you want to assign the project, what is the start date of the project, and what is the finish date. You have to provide all these details. So system is defaulting the name as implementation project number 18. Okay, it's auto generated number and the name that you can ignore, and you can give the name as ERPTREE implementation project. Okay, so you can take any company and you can just use that name.
Hi, Lakshman.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, in Oracle EBs, right, we have the multi-org concept, right? So
Here
there's only
also,
one application,
we
one application
have
for
here
multiple orgs. So here you're trying to say that we're getting a project for one organization, one country only.
yeah. Yes, correct.
So how does
That you can manage
I mean,
the setups that you can manage. See, implementation project is not mandatory to do the setups. This is optional. If you want to
okay.
create, otherwise without creating also you can do any setups. That is possible. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So in EBS we have multi-org. Similar to that in the Fusion we have enterprise structure. We'll cover everything.
So basically, implementation project is just for your help to give you a good layout on how to
Just to manage the setup.
input.
Just to manage the setup. It will simplify the setup process. That's all.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Fine. So let's take the company name as ABC Inc. Say client name is ABC Inc. We are going to do the implementation for company called as ABC Inc. That you can take as a project name. ABC Inc. implementation project. Use the tab. It will default the same name for code and description. And to whom you want to assign this project. That name you can see. System is selecting the current username as a assigned to. If you want to change the username, you can change it. Any consultant can create this implementation project. We don't need to think, since this is a project manager has to create. No, anyone can create. Just it's all about which options and offerings we are going to implement, we should aware so that we can create. Okay. Here you can assign this project to any user. Fine. To any user you can assign this project. Done. And start date and finish date, not for entire project. The start date, finish date to complete the setups only. If you take project duration is 6 months, the setups and all maybe you can complete in 15 days or 20 days. Okay. So let's take some tentative schedule. Say we want to complete the setups by end of this month. And these just for information purpose only, it won't have any control. After this date also will be able to complete the setups. You can perform the setups after this date also. Yeah, please.
Lakshman, if we want to assign the project to multiple users, we cannot.
Project you cannot assign to multiple users. Within the project, what are the offerings and options we have, those you can assign to multiple users. But project can be created by tagging with only one username.
Even though the project is assigned to only one user, the other users who are working on this project can access the features, right?
Even if you don't assign the project to so-and-so person, that person will be able to access to this project. Why we are assigning to this person? Just for information. Okay, or else to address who created this project. There is no functionality behind it.
Okay.
Fine. Now just click on next. Now system will display all the offerings which are enabled in this instance. Okay, if you don't enable the offerings and options in this instance, now you don't see those. Now whatever you see these all are the offerings and options. So you could see our financials, because financials offering already enabled in this instance. Now you have to include as a part of our client called as ABC Inc. which applications you are going to implement, those we have to include into this project. Say we are going to implement financials for this client. So include. Now system will expand the financials. Within the financials, which options we are going to implement, you have to include again. Say you are going to implement payables, supplier invoice process means payables. and you are going to implement customer invoice processing, and you are going to implement, say, general ledger application. But here you don't see general ledger application. When you use the financials, by default you will get general ledger application. That is the reason you don't see general ledger as one of the application or say option here. So if you want to implement general ledger, payables, receivables, you have to enable supplier invoice processing and customer invoice processing. Customer invoice processing is nothing but receivables, supplier invoice processing is nothing but payables. If you enable these two, general ledger application will come along with that. And again, you don't see application called as cash management here. If you are going to use payables or receivables, you will get cash management application automatically. If you want to process the payments and payables, bank accounts are required. If you want to receive the payments from customers, bank accounts are required. So bank account functionality is part of cash management. You don't need to select cash management separately. If you are going to implement payables, you will get cash management, or even if you are going to implement only receivables, also will get cash management. So that is the reason you don't find any cash management or general ledger applications here as a options when we are including into project. So let's include whatever we have. Say expense we are going to implement, fixed assets we are going to implement, collections we are going to implement, revenue management, intercompany, budget. So let's include whatever we have as a part of financials. So business intelligence analysis reporting we want to enable, just enable or say include. Done. We included. Along with this, if you want to include procurement also, yes, you can do that. You can go to procurement section. This is the procurement offering. Include procurement. Again, within the procurement, what applications you are going to implement. So within procurement, we want to implement purchasing. Include purchasing. And again, we want to implement self-service procurement, nothing but I-procurement application. Supplier invoice processing already we enabled in the financials. Again, you don't need to enable here. Supplier portal, nothing but I-supplier application. Sourcing application. And procurement contracts and supplier qualification. These are different applications. We are not going to deal with those, but we'll work on basic P2P and O2C cycles. But just to understand how to include offerings and options into project, we are just enabling this. Done. So this is how you can enable any offering or option into project. Now just click on save and open project. Once you click on save and open project, to implement all these selected options, okay, offerings and options, what setups we have to perform, system will create the task list that you can call as task list. Okay, create implementation project. Now system will create the task list. To implement selected offerings and options, what are the setups we have to perform? The setups complete list system will create that you can call as a task list. Wait for a second because it has to generate the task for the multiple options across the offerings. Take some time. So it will create the task list into this project. Meantime, any questions from anyone, please?
So, Lakshman,
Yeah.
you mentioned that for normally we'll create one for one country, we'll create one project. How
Yeah.
about the option? So, let's say for one country, US, if you're implementing financials, SCM, 2, 3 things, then also you'll create one project, or you'll create one project for
Yes.
every option.
So the point is simple. You are implementing for one country. Okay, create one project. For that country, which applications you are going to implement, those you can include into that project. That's all. What you are implementing for that country, include into that. You are going to implement for other country.
Okay.
Other country, you are implementing only financials. Create separate project for other country and select which offerings or options you are going to implement for that country. That's how for country wise you can create the separate project in which country, which offerings and options you are going to implement, include respectively. That's all. Now you can see here system created implementation project, and it included the two offerings, and if you expand this you can find the task list inside of it. Click on financials, expand. Within that you can find the task list. This is what system generated. So if you want to implement fixed assets application, these are the setups. Expand this, define fixed assets configuration. You can see these are all setups we have to complete to implement the fixed assets application. Okay, if you want to implement payables, expand, define invoicing and payment configuration. These are the setups we have to perform. So wherever you see the folder option that you can call as a task list, inside you can have a tasks, expand, define payables. Now these all are the tasks which allows us to do some setups. Only these are all related to setups, not related to transaction creation. For transaction creation purpose, we should have a additional roles access. So this is how you can find all the task list system generated based on the offerings and options what we selected into our project. So this is all just you can collapse. The same way procurement offering. The procurement, as a part of procurement, what setups we have to do across the different applications or say options, all you can see. If you want to implement sourcing application, so these are the setups you have to perform. Now the application in the procurement is sourcing, so these are the setups you have to complete. So when you are performing the setup, system will give you the complete information. The setup is mandatory or optional, whether there is a dependent setup or independent setup, everything will come to know. We'll see, we'll go one by one. Now this is the basic information. We created project. At the time of project creation, we given these details. If you want to edit those details, yes, you can edit. Except code, anything you can edit. Just click on edit. If you want to change the name, you can change. If you want to change the description, you can change. And code you cannot change once you create. And status, say we started working on this project, so you can set the status as a in progress. By default, not started. Yes, when you create the project, you have to start. So then you can update the status as in progress. So you completed all the setups with the help of this project, then you can update the status as a completed. This is just for information. Irrespective of the status, you can perform any action on this project related setups. This is just for information only. I'm just marking this project as in progress. Okay, if you want to change the assignment, you can change. If you want to change this finish date or start date, etc., anything you can change at any point of time, but code you cannot change. Done. So now this project status is in progress, and this is assigned to Amazon, and start date, end date, project name, etc. This is and all you can see. Now if you want to assign the entire financials, you can assign to one resource. Okay, you can assign to single resource, or else within this entire financials, each application you want to assign to one resource. Yes, that also you can do. Here what you can do is, say for example, payables. Define invoicing and payment configuration means payables. If you want to assign these payables to one resource to take care of this implementation, select this payables task list. Just click on that, that would get selected. Now click on assign tasks. First we have to select this record. Click on assign tasks. Click on add. Okay, just click on add. So to whom you want to assign this project or this payables implementation? Search for the user. First of all, you have to create the users, then only you can do this. Okay. Say I want to assign to this user. Select, say apply. Along with this, if you want to assign to other user, yes, that also you can do that. Just any name you can use just for testing. Apply. Now click on done. Now payables implementation we assign to 3 users. If you want to remove any user, yes, you can do that. Just remove, delete. Only for 2. And by which date this user should complete the setups. You can set the due date. This user should complete by 10th, and both are going to work for payables implementation. They have to complete by 10th of this month. And if you want to add one more user, you can add it. Say save and close. Done. Now what you can do is expand payables. Just expand payables task list. Still you can expand. Now you could see system clearly showing here. Okay, these are assigned to whom? So we assign these to 2 users, right? First user and the second user. One more in bracket you could see. This is how we can assign specific offering a specific option to specific resource or multiple resource also. Or else you want to assign entire financials to one resource. Just select entire financials. Select here, we have a selection, or you can click on this record and go to assign tasks. You can assign here.
Lakshman, resources who are not assigned any task, they cannot access.
They can access. This is just for information only. I want to assign to Amex. Apply. Set done. Which user got access to application implementation consultant? That user can access any project, and any sort of configuration can be done by that user. No permissions are required. Just application implementation consultant role access is enough to work on any project. But why we are doing these assignments? For information purpose. Which team member is responsible for what is the progress of the setups? These are all to update, we are giving all this. So for this user, for entire financials, we are giving the time up to 15th of this March. So save and close.
Hi, Lakshman.
One second. I'll take your questions. Let me complete something. Okay, so for financials, we assign the resource, and now you can expand any one of the task list. Wherever you see the folder icon, that you can call as a task list. Task list, it contains multiple tasks. Now see, Amex user, this is assigned. For Amex user, it is assigned. But when you talk about payables, go to payables, expand payables, expand any one of the task list. Now you can see Amex and 2 more users. For entire financials, we assign to Amex. Before assigning entire financials to Amex, we assign payables to 2 more users. That's what system is showing. Amex plus 2 more users. Now payables implementation responsibility is assigned to 3 users. One is Amex, where we assign Amex for entire financials along with the 2 more users. So this is how you can assign. Say we assign payables implementation to one specific user or multiple users. Once they start working on payables, they can update the status. Here we have a status. By default, it is not started. You can click on this status icon and you can update the status as in progress. I will say setup you completed. You can say completed. This is how you can update. If not, from here, you can select that record, go to edit status. From here, you can say it's in progress. Say save and close. Now, within that payables application, define invoicing and payment configuration, nothing but payables. If I expand it, everything system will show as in progress. Within the payables, everything is in progress. That's how you could see. And say you completed so-and-so application configuration. You can update the status as a completed. So say for payables only you completed, click on the status, set the status as a completed, say save and close. So now system is showing everything is complete. Reality, we didn't do anything, just we are marking the status. Even if you set the status as completed, someone can go and do the setups. Say maybe for example, for other application, like pick some application. Let's collapse this. So for expense application, we started working on it. You can update the status as in progress and say save and close. Okay. So completed. This is in progress. So this is how you can update the status for your entire financial level. Also, you can set the status if you want to set. Entire financial, we started working, so you can set the status as in progress. We'll update the status for entire financial related all the tasks as a in progress. So it's here payables already you completed, so you can update the status as a completed. Okay, this is how you can assign specific offering or option to team members, or else specific setup also you can assign to team members. Expand these payables, expand any one of the task list. Okay, here we have a task called as manage payments terms. Select this task, click on assign tasks. You can see it's already assigned to 3 users. And one more point you can note is permitted. So only Amex user is permitted to do this setup. The other users are not permitted to do this setup. That means to do this setup, whatever the roles are required, those roles access these 2 users doesn't have. Okay. So the primary role is application implementation consultant. Apart from application implementation consultant, there are many other roles which will allow the users to do the certain setups. Okay, not everything, certain setups users can do it. So 3 users, Amex user has the permissions to do this setup, other 2 users doesn't have access. Now since they don't have access, you can give the role access, or else you can remove from that assignment, you can do anything. Now what I want to do is for payment term setup, I want to allow only one user to do, not other users. So you can just remove this user also, you can assign another user. This is how for specific task also, you can assign do the assignment so that that user will take the responsibility of doing the setups. We'll just go and assign. Just any one of the user for our testing. Select and you can assign. Okay, this user doesn't have access to this payment terms related task. So you may assign the relevant roles accordingly the user can perform the setup. We're expecting to complete the setups by today itself. So this is how you can update Any questions on these points, please? Okay, updating the status and do assignments. Any questions? If no questions, we'll go through all these columns, all these. What does it mean by each and every column we'll discuss. Any questions from anyone, please?
Lakshman, you have said the users who have application implementation consultant role, they can access all the offerings. Offerings means you mean applications, right?
Correct. Offerings and options as well as projects and everything.
So, for example, there are different teams, right? People who work in procurement, people who work in purchasing, they don't work on financials. People who work in financials, they don't work on purchasing or purchasing. So, those people who don't work on the particular offering, they can access that offering also.
Still, they can access.
They don't.
They know very well, right? What is their responsibility? That's how. That is a point where we can manage that.
Okay, but in EBS only it's responsibility wise access, but here access
No.
is
One
based on
second. You talk about EBS. If you have access to system administrator, can you access everything?
Yes.
Same here. If you have access to FSM, you can access to everything. When it comes to responsibility, if you say EBS responsibility, here you can assign the roles. In EBS, user required access to payables. So you can assign the payable responsibility to record the transactions. In Fusion, what you can...
But that system administrator responsibility...
One second. Payables roles you can assign to the user so that user can have access to payables only. But when it comes to setups, in EBS, the menu consists of setup part and transaction part. But in the Fusion, they separated. Setups you can access only with FSM, and transaction process related roles they given as a separate roles.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, please?
Lakshman, so when somebody assigns a task, will the person who the task has been assigned to, will they get a notification or something?
No notification. See, this is not an ongoing process. It's a one-time activity. At the time of implementation, we'll do it. So that is the reason that sort of functionality they didn't enable for this. See, reality what happens is when we are working for any implementation project, we are very sure we are going to implement which application. These assignments also we don't do. If I am working for finance, I'll start working with the finance related configuration. If you are working for procurement, you will start with the procurement. Okay. There won't be any confusion in the system which task need to be completed by whom, which offering, which option. Everybody is clear. The entire team member definitely will come to know before they get into the project. Once they start working on the system, they will take care of the applications which they have to manage or say implement. So generally we don't do these assignments when we do the real actual projects, but here since they given the functionality, we are discussing here. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions here, please? Okay, no questions. Now we are in the project. Okay, now we are in the project. We have two offerings. If you want to do any setup, you no need to take this lengthy navigations. Clicking on financials, going to tables, and again expanding other task list, finding some task and completing setup. We don't need to do all this lengthy navigation process and all. Anything you want to do directly you can search from here. Say you want to create the calendar. Why we have to create the calendar and all we'll discuss later, but just for our understanding here. Say I want to create one calendar. Search for calendar. Click on search. Please go on mute. Somebody. Thanks. So this is how you can go to calendar. So there is one task called as manage accounting calendars. Click on manage accounting calendars task. So this is a task. If you want to create the accounting calendar, you can click on go to task icon. It will take you to the page from where you can create the accounting calendar. From here you can create accounting calendar. We will create it later. We'll discuss. We'll do it. And if you want to take the if you want to come to this task by following the navigation, which path you have to follow, that you can find here. Show hierarchy. Click on show hierarchy. First you have to go to financials. Within the financials, we have a one task list called as define common application configuration for financials, that we have to expand. Once you expand, you can find the task list called as define enterprise structure for financials. Again, you have to expand that. You can find define financial reporting structure. Again, you have to expand it. You can find define calendars. Again, you have to expand it. Then you can find manage accounting calendars. So reality, when you do this implementation or say setups and all, we never go through that navigation. If you are doing the multiple setups, which we are going to execute through sequence, you may follow this approach, or else always what we do is we'll search. Okay, here also you can see the path, how to navigate to that. You can click on task, specific task, and click on go to task icon. And you can do the setups here. You can create the calendar. You can click on create and you can create. Okay, we have to discuss many other things to create it. We'll see that later. Now, that's all about the search field first. Any setup you want to perform as a part of the project, you can access from here. Which setups you can do? Only the setups which are related to financials and procurement only. Okay, let's come back. Fine. Finance and procurement related setups only you can do. If you want to do the HCM setups, you cannot do from this project. If you want to do other setups, you have to include those offerings and options here. Okay. Say for example, at the time of project creation, you didn't select financials. I'm removing that. Okay. At the time of project creation, we selected this offerings and options. But that is not mandatory. After creating the project also, you can create the blank project without any offerings and options. After creating implementation project, you can include offerings and options into the project. Okay, so that is a possible. Here you can go to, still it is removing that. You can click on add and you can do that, or else I'll show you by creating one more project. Financials is removed. Now let's create one more project. Now since if you click on next, you will go to the page where you can find the offerings and options, and you can include into this project. Without selecting anything, you can say save and open project. Now system will create the blank project. What are the offerings and options you want to implement, those you can select into this project. Now this T1 implementation project. Click on add. You want to select offerings. Yes, select financials, search. Select, click on apply. It has to create the task list, so it takes some time. So offering, we selected financials. If not offering, if you want to select options, you can select task list. Task list is nothing but option. If you want to add only payables into this project, yes, you can choose the task list and you can search for the payable related task list name. You can find out it and you can add into the project. Specific task also you can add into the project. Okay. The entire offering or option within the option task list or specific task also you can add. So you could see financials is added. Same way like a task list, you can go to task list. You can find various task lists here. You can choose whatever you want to add here. You can search for configure invoicing and payment. Okay, here already we just selected here that within this we have that is the reason it's not coming. So for example, okay, it's there as a defined. Duplication it should allow. We'll see that. Define invoicing. It will allow duplication. Yes, this is the payable related. This is the payable related. Select. Before that, we'll just collapse this. We want to add only payables. Of course, payables already we have in this, but just for our testing, we want to add it. Click on apply. So it's added. Only payables we added. In the same way, you can add any other options also, or else if you want to add specific task, yes, you can add it. Specific task you want to add. The task name you say manage payment terms. What is this payment terms and all we'll discuss and we'll understand. For now, just for our testing, how to add and all we are trying to see this. Done. So this is how any offering or option or task specific or particular task list, anything you can add into the project. Okay. So this is all about how we can add the offering or option or task list. So from here you can search for anything. Let's add financials into this.
Lakshman, one question.
Please.
When you were adding this invoicing and payments offering, there was rapid implementation as well. There were two. What is that rapid implementation?
We'll see that. I included rapid implementation topic also in the course curriculum. Rapid implementation means you can load the setups through spreadsheet. That's it. Now generally we do the setups in the system through manual process. We'll take the navigation, we'll click on create and we'll enter the data, click on next, save, etc. Instead of doing all this, you can enter the setup data in the spreadsheet. You can generate the file. The file you can submit to the instance. Based on that inputs, system will perform the setups automatically. We are going to work on it. Yeah, we'll discuss more detail level and we'll see. Fine. We added financials. Okay. Now this is all about search to find out any task which is part of procurement and financials. And if you want to add offerings and options, you can add it. And here we have a column as a help. So you can enable the help. When you are working on this application, if you want to explore on anything, you can use this help section. What you have to do is click on user. And here you have a help icon. Here by default it would be show. Show. If you click on show, it has to display the yeah, it's already showing. This is the help icon. Now if you want to understand what is this procurement configuration, what is this so and so, you can just use that help and you can just click on that and you will just get a relevant information to explore on this. For example, I'm just clicking on this help icon. Okay. So what is this? This is a very high level. They are just giving these details. This is how you can see. But wherever it is applicable, they'll just give more detailed help also. Click on this help icon. It's not applicable. You will navigate us to help portal. They'll give the separate tasks. I think it is not applicable here. Let's go to finance related. Expand. Payables. Here, there will be additional tasks also. They will display. But basically, when you expand this, it has to show the help for these separate items also. This manage, define ledgers. Just click on this. We'll see. Go to navigate to help portal. They'll just give you the option. Just wait for a second. Here also. Even project level also they have to display this. Yeah, here. This is all just wherever help is applicable, just they'll enable this help icon. Yeah, this is how they'll just display. You can click on search help. It will take us to help portal. From there, you can search for any information. Okay, help center. You can search for any help here. You can search, you can find out what information you require. You can search. You can search for, say, accounting calendar. The help center, there they'll display the relevant information. Okay. Accounting calendar. So accounting calendar, click on that. Accounting calendar related information. You can just go through and you can explore. This is how just you can use this help. So basically when you click on that, talks about what does it mean by implementation project and the relevant information. Manage, set up using implementation project, assign tasks. Okay, import to set up data using implementation project. All you can see, any sort of information if you want to get, you can click on search help. It will take you to this page. Here you have a search field. You can search for any information. That's how you can get a help, whatever you require to understand anything related to application. So this we have to enable. So here, they hide. You will hide that help. Click on done. System will update as a option has to be enabled. Now again go to manage implementation project. Now it is not available here. No help icon you could see. Not only there, if you go to project also, any project, expand financials, no help here. You have to enable it. If you enable, it would be available to see. Say show help icon. Immediately it won't update. Just click on done. And you can see now here you can see help, and again now open the same project. Help is enabled. This is how you can just enable help and you can navigate to this help center and you can search for any information, whatever you want to explore. And go to task, it is related to what setups you want to perform. To navigate to that page, you can use the go to task column. Okay, like it will take us to the relevant page. You click on that, it will take us to that page to perform the setup. That's all about go to task. Another one is selected scope. When you are doing the setups only, you can understand this. This is not applicable for everything. For a few things like ledger, business unit, etc. Those we'll discuss and we'll see. Scope selection now we cannot understand. We have to wait for some time. Once we start doing the setups, we can understand. And status already we have seen. Okay, we can update the status for entire offering level, option or task list or task level. And predecessor task means dependency. If you want to complete any setup, what are the dependency setups? Say for example, define payment options. To complete that setup, there is one dependency setup. What is that? You can see. define payables. These setups we have to complete, then only you can proceed with those setups. It always shows the dependency setups. The other one is assignment to. This task or offering or option is assigned to whom it will show. Okay, here this setup payables calendar is assigned to ERPTREE, the same it is showing. So the offering or optional task list is assigned to whom it shows here, and due date. You can set the due date. Okay, as per due date, you can see the details here. This project, I think we set due date and we deleted, and again we added. You don't see anywhere. Okay, any due date if you set for specific offering or option or anything, just that you can find here due date. Like earlier already we just set the due date. Later we removed, right? So set due date. The same system is updating here. Okay. And assignment permissions. So click on these permissions. We are talking about specific task. One particular task we are checking. For this user, no permissions we have. That means this user doesn't have access to role. Which role will give the permissions to this task? If you want to allow this user to complete this task, which roles are available, you can see here. Click on authorized roles. Authorized roles means which roles will give the permission to complete that selected task that you could see. These are the various roles we have. Any one of this role you can assign to the user, that user will be able to complete their setup. In every task setup, application implementation consultant role would be there. Along with that, there are few other also to complete only this setup. So which role will give the access to the user to complete that setup, that you can see in the authorized roles. Notes. Okay, you can write some notes. Say for example, you are working on payables. Okay, so you are working on payables. You want to write some note, or else payable setups, you completed all the setups, you captured into document that you want to attach here. You can do that. Click on notes. Here you can add the note. Maybe some file you can upload. Okay, or else you can add some text saying that just we completed setups and don't touch so and so, etc., etc. Or else you can select some URL link you can provide here, so that if they click on that link, they will navigate to that page and they can see the relevant information related to payables. Any note they want to provide related to this payables configuration, you can give here. Here it's all about reports. This is the invoice and payment configuration. If you click on this report, it will just download the file and it will show the details, how many setups are complete, how many are not. But we didn't do any setups. We need to check that. Okay, and here I am updating the status as in progress, because earlier we updated and we again deleted and added, right? So what I'll do is I'll set for entire financials in progress, so that we can track the progress of the project. That is the reason we are setting these statuses again. So earlier whatever we did, we removed. Now go to payables. So I'm updating the status for payables as completed. Okay, just click on the status, say completed, say save and close. Click on done. Now click on overview. When you click on overview, so not this project, the project is different one. We'll assign that project to this user on ERPTREE. This is a project. It's assigned to Amazon.
Lakshman, some tasks have a blue star. What is that blue star?
Mandatory, compulsory. You have to complete it.
Okay.
So ERPTREE. Done. Click on done. Now click on overview. Now see, this T1 project we don't require, remove this. Now you can track the progress of this project. 1 second. Select ABC INC implementation project. One second. Okay, now this is only one project we have which is assigned to the ERPTREE user. Now you can see the progress of this project. It is showing this. This 8% of setups are completed. 8% of setups means 116 tasks are completed. 32% not yet started. That means 449 tasks not started. Okay, and 60%. That means 847 percentage of the task in progress. And here you can see the due dates. This week 41 tasks need to be completed. Okay, here the due dates are not given for all these. Go to assignment status by the task list. And here these are the procurement related tasks separately and financials. Within the financials, 116 tasks are completed and remaining are in progress, and procurement is not started. If you click on this yellow color icon, it will take us to that 116 tasks which are completed also. You could see all the completed tasks. So these are the tasks here. The detail ability showing. That's how you can navigate. Resource status. Which resources are working, that all you could see here. 2 resources are working. So ERPTREE, how many tasks are assigned, you can see. For this user, this week 41 tasks need to be completed for this user, and this week you want to see next week how many so user has to complete, you can select that. Also it shows if anything is applicable. Next week nothing, no tasks need to be completed. So that's how just you can go through these details. If you update the status, like who are working, what is the due date to complete, and what is the progress of the setups, everything you can update. This is how you'll be able to track the progress of this project. So that's all about just project creation. Once we are ready with the project, we can do the setups from the project. If not from project, from where, what are the other options are available, that also we'll see in the next session. Any questions on this, please? And another point is, we're done for today. Okay, if you have any questions, you can stay back, or else we're done for today. Our classes are Monday to Friday. Today is Friday, Monday to Friday. The next session would be on Monday. Okay, only Monday to Friday classes as per India calendar. So we'll connect on Monday. So that's all for today. Any questions from anyone, please?